Check, 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 check. For some reason this is not working. All right, well, hopefully the volume's not too low on the music here. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Hey, what is going on? So obviously I haven't been live in a minute. I've been busy doing some work, working, and then I've also had we have these guys out here working on the apartment complex the last couple days, so they kind of, really not really a chance of going live unless I go at night, and I haven't really been up at night. So today we're going to go kind of go over the recent news that's coming down the pipeline here. Obviously training camp starting next week, or this coming week. We got some news basically to dive into though about Barkley. Turn the music up a smidge. We got Barkley, we got Jacobs, we got Kamara news that we haven't went over that came about a few days ago. We've also got Dalvin Cook news. We got Kadarius Toney news. We got all kinds of stuff. Eckler, Mixon. So we're gonna dive into the news. We're gonna talk about each news subject. I also have a couple more that I didn't really we can go over a little bit that I didn't really put up on the board here today. But our first one is going to be Saquon Barkley. So Saquon Barkley looks like he's stuck in a stalemate regarding his long-term contract discussions. It says here the deadline is obviously Monday, July 17th. That's in 2 days. He's a threat to hold out to start the season. This is from Diana Rossini on Twitter. This is on fantasypros.com. That's where we get our news from. Barkley, I think something happens with Barkley here. I think it's going to come down to the final day. I think it's going to come down to Monday, Monday afternoon. We'll know by Monday afternoon, but I think ultimately, I think he gets something done. I think he either gets something done or he signs the franchise tag. If for those of you guys that aren't familiar, the franchise tag for these running backs for him and Jacobs are roughly $10.1 million, which is obviously grossly underpaid for really both of these guys. But I do think he gets something done. I think Barkley is more. Look, and we're going to dive into Jacobs here in a minute, but I think between the two, I think Barkley gets something done. He wants to be in New York. He wants to be a part of this year, for the Giants. Jacobs' situation is a little bit different. So, look, man, am I still drafting Barkley to a degree? Yeah, I am. We'll get into Barkley about some other stuff. I'm not really too high on him as much as some other people are. I think I have one share of him on Underdog. I have one share of him over the course of well over 100 teams that I've drafted on Underdog. And I'm gonna dive into that after we get done, probably with the news. I'm gonna dive into these running backs, which certain running backs based off data over the last few years you might want to try to avoid. Barkley is one of those guys, but I think Barkley gets something done by Monday. He may not get exactly what he wants, but I think they're going to offer him something that he's just going to take. Whether it's 4 years or 3 years on a $12 to $15 million per year basis, maybe somewhere around there. I would say about 14 or 15 would be probably what I would be guessing what they're trying to offer him. Maybe he wants more than that, but I think there's a good chance he gets something done, and I think even if they don't get something done, I think there's a good chance that he signs the franchise tag for this year. So, since last year he totaled 1,650 yards on 352 touches last year. Had a Pro Bowl season, this and that. Finished, I believe, as a number 5 running back in most leagues. Depending on which league you're in, he could have been higher or lower, but I think consensus was about number 5. I think he gets something done this year for the most part. So, all right, let's go to our next piece of news. Let's go ahead and get this one out of the way. DeAndre Hopkins. So, according to Jeff Darlington of ESPN on the Rich Eisen show, the Buffalo Bills have interest in wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins, but is presumed to be below the free agent market value. Hopkins pursues. Obviously, they're interested at their price. We don't know what their price is, but it's probably below what he's already been offered by the Titans and the Patriots. So, could my Chiefs jump back into this, back into this race? I would say there's a chance. I know they got to get something done with, Chris Jones. As soon as they get something done with Chris Jones, they can free up some cap space. Maybe they go after Hopkins. I believe they got to get that done before Monday as well. So I believe they will eventually. This Hopkins stuff, it's crazy. I figured he would have been on a team already by now, to be honest. And it looks like, it could be this week, but I don't know, man. It may not be until a few days in training camp here. You think he's missing training camp with whichever team he signs if he doesn't get it done basically before this week. Training camp pretty much starts for a lot of teams on Tuesday, I believe, or at least for the rookies it does. A lot of teams have the rookies that start first. But I think even for some teams, even some of the veterans will start training camp on the 22nd, which will be literally a week from today. So, I like Hopkins. He's going to get something done eventually. He's going to get something done with one of these teams. He will be on a team. Which one of these teams are going to be the guys that sign him? I don't know. I would lean towards Tennessee, but there's no guarantee of that. So, all right, moving on. Let's go to Dalvin Cook. Once again from Jeff Darlington of ESPN here. Dalvin Cook has been given an offer by the Miami Dolphins, but it's not the one he's currently willing to accept, apparently. So, looks like he's going to wait out the market. This was Tuesday, so this is a few days ago, 4 days ago, 5 days ago, roughly now. Miami, I feel like, is the favorite. I feel like it's the right fit for him. It just really depends on what the market does, and I don't think the market's it's not going to get much better, I don't think. I mean, you got a lot of these running backs who are unhappy with the market of, their position, and it's not going to change. It's not going to dramatically become something different overnight. Eckler's obviously mad about the market. He's mad about the money he's getting paid. We're going to get to him here in a second. Barkley, Jacobs, they're going through this, contract situation right now as well. They're not, they're going to be hard pressed to get the contract that they want, just like Dalvin Cook is going to be, especially Dalvin Cook, who's a little bit older than both of these guys, and you could say is a little bit past his prime. So we'll see what happens. I think maybe Dallas could throw their name in the hat. Obviously, the Broncos, they would be, if I hear about this Jets talk. I hope he doesn't go to the Jets. I hope if he does go to the Jets, it's soon, because I have Breece Hall as one of my keepers in my auction league, which don't really lock in until about a month from now, about 5 weeks from now. So hopefully, if he does go to the Jets, it's before then, and I know to maybe not keep Breece Hall, even though I like Breece Hall. I may not end up keeping him if that's the case. So, you know, it just depends. It just depends on what happens here. So, I would say Cook is still a leading favorite. I bet you, I don't know what the sports books say, but I bet you the Dolphins are still the favorite here to sign Dalvin Cook. So, he's going to explore other offers, but it may end up being the Dolphins gave him the best offer. So, he might be forced, you know, to take it or just sit out, right? So, and the Dolphins have a pretty decent team. They can probably win a few games here and there. They might even compete for a playoff spot as well, like they did last year. So, we'll just have to wait and see. All right, moving on here. Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler, man. Says he's still not happy with current contract situation. I didn't really know what his contract situation was until I read it here, but he's still upset about the current contract with the Chargers. They actually, that's a typo right there. Eckler pointed out that the backup receivers, wide receivers, were making more than him and voiced concerns over the running back market on the Rich Eisen show. It says down here that Eckler believes that running backs should be paid based on their impact on the game when compared to wide receivers who have lesser roles on the on other teams. The veteran running back stated his frustration not just about the money, but also about being valued by the team. Eckler's in the final year of his contract and is set to make $6.25 million this season. That is not very good. That's terrible, actually. I mean, yeah, if that's grossly not compensated very well for him. And you know, what do these guys need to do to fix this? I'm not quite sure. The biggest thing that they need to do is they need to get the CBA adjusted. The players union come the next contract situation, contract session. I don't know when that is for the NFL and the players union, because I know they usually do about 10 years. Let me see if I can look it up real quick. Basically, though, the CBA needs to be changed for these running backs. I don't know if the owners are ever going to agree to it. My guess is probably not, but CBA expiration March of 2030. The current CBA expires in March of 2030 at the end of the league year. So that'll be right before the 2030/2031 season, which would be probably, that would be before the NFL draft as well. So they're looking at another 7 years before the expiration of the CBA. The CBA has to get adjusted for them to where their first contract, their rookie contract, is like a 2-year deal. That's the only thing that's going to fix this, is a 2-year deal for the rookie contract for these running backs. Because, and what's funny is that it's really the opposite, especially for the good ones. Like Bijan, he's on a 4-year deal, making about $5.5 million a year. But the team also has the option to pick up his 5th option. I'm pretty sure he has a 5th option. A lot of these, like all these first round players, they have a 5th option on their contracts. I'm pretty sure, if they were drafted in the first round. So, it's a bad situation for these running backs to be on a 4 or even a 5-year contract, because the expiration on running backs is like 8 or 9 years. I mean, even some of the good ones, like Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley didn't even last that long. He was really good while he lasted, but he didn't last. Let's see, how long did Todd Gurley last here? He lasted 5 years. He played 5 years and he was done. And after the 4th year, basically after year 4, his last year in LA with the Rams, he was done. He went to Atlanta his last year, and he provided some yards, just under 700 yards rushing, 9 touchdowns, but he was they ran him into the ground in LA. The Rams ran him into the ground. So Gurley only had a 5-year career. I believe he had an injury as well, and that was just all, that's all she wrote for somebody like Todd Gurley. And so, these contracts for the running backs, they're too long because of the position that they play and the toll it takes on their body to play that position. So the only way they're going to fix it is if they cut the CBA to where the CBA cuts like their rookie contract to like a 2-year or maybe even a 3-year. I mean, 3 years isn't enough. I don't think it would help, but they need to cut it to like a 2-year deal. And then after that 2-year period, they're up for being re-signed to a new contract, or they can go explore free agency. But at least they'll still have value, because a lot of the prime years for running backs are usually like what, 2, 3, and 4. So if they get off after a 2-year deal, their 2-year rookie contract, they have 3 and 4 to negotiate with, and they can get paid better because they still have stuff in the tank. They still have some gas in the tank for years 3, 4, and 5, even 6 or 7, depending on the running back. So that's what could fix this situation that we have with the running backs. That could fix it right away. There's some other things that they could probably do as well, but the other option would be that if these guys are drafted in the first round, they are, I don't know, there needs to be a higher amount that they're paid on their rookie deal. So like maybe somebody like Bijan should be maybe he should be being paid about $10 million a year instead of 5.5 for his rookie deal, because we already know he's going to be the best on his rookie contract. He's going to be, because he's a running back. So as far as this news about Eckler not being he's still going to play. He obviously explored I believe he explored like free agency a little bit over the offseason, and he wasn't getting really much talks, but or I shouldn't say free agency. He explored like offers from other teams, but I just I don't know, man. I still like Eckler this year a little bit, but at the same time, I worry about him, man. I worry about his motivation, especially if the team isn't competing, which they should compete this year. But he's been used a lot. He's been used a lot the last couple of years, mostly in the passing game. He has never ran for over 1,000 yards. If you're not really in a league where you get some bonus points for passing, this and that, I'm not quite sure that I am targeting him in the first round. Like an Underdog, I'm not taking him in the first round, because it's half PPR. There's no upside for receiving ability for a running back as far as like bonus points or anything like that. So I'm not really targeting him in Underdog as much. I think I have like 1 share of him. So all right, let's move on to another running back. This is very intriguing here. Antonio Gibson wants to be used more as a wide receiver in 2023. He said recently in a released interview that he wants to line up more at wide receiver in 2023, stating, quote, "I haven't shown my position." Gibson converted to a running back after playing wide receiver in college at Memphis, and his open field ability makes him a valuable weapon in the new look Washington offense. So we don't know how much new look this offense is going to look. I do think it's going to look a little different. You got to think they're going to have Sam Howell, who can sling the ball. At quarterback, they got Eric Bieniemy, my Chiefs offensive coordinator, who's been with the Chiefs for the last like 4 or 5 years, I believe. He is their new offensive coordinator over there in Washington now. So, Gibson, if you have, if you guys have like premium on like out of position scoring, like I do in one of my leagues, where like you get running backs who can catch touchdowns and it's worth like double points like it is in my league, or even if you have a premium on receiving backs, Gibson could be a guy that I would target a little earlier than when he goes. Eckler will be top 3 running back this year anyways. But he should go somewhere else after this year. I think he's got a couple more prime years in full PPR. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Eckler hasn't been used as much as like a normal bell cow running back over the years. You got to think Eckler sat behind Melvin Gordon for a couple of years, or he split time with Melvin Gordon for a couple of years. You know, Melvin Gordon's last few really heyday years in LA before he went to Denver. Yeah, Eckler's only been over 200 attempts the last 2 years. So, obviously and look, I know, if you count total touches, you count his receiving ability, his receiving work, that doesn't take as much of a toll on a running back's body as, say, somebody who's like Zeke Elliott, who was just, Zeke, Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, those guys ran into the ground. You look at Zeke now, like Zeke's done. Eckler's I think Eckler's the same age as Zeke. I believe he's the same age as Zeke. Either that or he's 1 year behind him. He was drafted 1 year after Zeke. Eckler's got more playing time. He's got more lifespan than what Zeke does, because Zeke was just ran into the ground. So, and I think Eckler's got he's got a little bit more time. The problem with Eckler though is you need that receiving ability, and I'm not saying he's not going to get that receiving ability. He's still going to probably produce in the receiving game. He has to, because that's his bread and butter. But if you get a season where he doesn't, like he had 107 catches last year. That's crazy. I don't know who else has caught over 100 balls other than him and McCaffrey, but it's not often you get a running back catching over 100 balls. And he really wasn't very efficient with that either. He only had 722 receiving yards. He could have probably had about 1,000. But he could go for another 100 this year, man. I mean, they got the new offensive coordinator, so coming over from Dallas, he could definitely thrive off of them just slinging the ball as much as anybody in the NFL, if not more than anybody else in the NFL. So I like this, I like this news about Gibson here. I think Gibson could be, I keep thinking about my league, my other league that I have, like a premium on out of scoring position, or position out of scoring, which is like running backs catching for touchdowns or receivers running for a touchdown. There's a premium on that. I like Gibson in that regard. I don't really like an underdog. I would say he's good value where he's at right now. I don't know how much higher I would draft him. Maybe a round ahead of where he's going. But which would be what? He's going. What's his ADP here? His ADP is, it's 98.3 right now, so that's basically the beginning of round 9. That was like around 1. I want to say it was about 105 to 110 though, not too long ago. If you go back to like June, or even if you go back to May, it was much lower than that. So I do like Gibson a little bit this year. I would like him more though if you're in a league where out of scoring position touchdowns, or if you had some kind of other premium on pass catching running backs, I would like him a lot more. So, all right, let's move on. Let's go to Josh Jacobs. This is what we've been trying to get to. We got 3 doozies for you guys here. The last 3 headlines here. So, big one here. Josh Jacobs won't report to training camp without a new deal. I haven't been talking about this too much, but I'm going to talk about it now. I know Smitty talked about it not too long ago. I watched a little bit of that show. I am, pretty much in agreement with him on some of this stuff. But I'm telling you right now, Josh Jacobs, one, do not draft him. Obviously, don't draft him at all this year. Even, we're going to see what happens here in training camp and leading up to the preseason. But I'm telling you right now, this guy, is different than Barkley in the sense that, look, Barkley, I think Barkley will sign the franchise tag, okay? I really do. I think he'll play. He'll sign the franchise tag if they force him to. I do think that they try to get him a new deal. This is a different scenario. Jacobs is not going to get a new deal. I would be shocked if he got one Monday. Okay? This guy was the rushing leader last year. He technically was like the third. I want to say he was, yeah. He was technically ranked number 3 as far as the running backs go in fantasy last year. He could have been number 1 if you were like in a standard league. But Jacobs is not going to get a new deal, and he's not signing the franchise tag. We know he's not going to sign the franchise tag. He's already said that he won't. Is not expected to show up for training camp without a long-term deal. I don't think they're going to give him the long-term deal. So the deadline for the two sides to agree on a long-term deal is Monday, just like Barkley. It remains a situation to monitor, but there have been many reports on Jacobs and the Raiders gaining. There have not been many reports on Jacobs and the Raiders gaining any progress on a potential new deal. Jacobs could still play week 1, even if he misses part of training camp, but it does bring on some concern. He is coming off a career season, rushing over 1,600 yards and 12 touchdowns. I think he is on contract. Is he on contract still? I believe he has one more year on his contract. But I could still see him sitting out, though. Let me see here. Josh Jacobs. Contract. I don't know when his contract expires. Maybe he's not on contract. This is his 5th year in the league, right? Which means... yeah, okay, so... I think there's a good chance that he's going to sit out then. Very good chance he's going to sit out. He is on... I go back, I clicked on the wrong one. Yeah, he's going into year 5, so he would have. So this would be like his 5th year option, but they're trying to get him. He's not going to play on the 5th year option. They're trying to give him the. They're trying to give him the franchise tag. He's not going to take the franchise tag. I don't think he will. You're not going to see Jacobs at training camp this year because I don't think they're getting him anything done by Monday, which is 2 days away. Really, it's like a day and a half away. Gosh, I'm staying away from Jacobs regardless, though, because and I'm going to get into why exactly. I'm going to go over these running backs over the years, dating back to 2015. A little chart I made, a little bit of stats I've pulled together from past years on like top 20 running backs. We'll go over that here shortly, and then we'll probably get into like like an underdog fantasy draft. But I'm staying away from Jacobs anyway. There's a reason why he's going in round 3. Okay, because I don't think people really believe in him. You got to think about it. A guy who had the kind of season that he had last year, those guys would be going in round 1 right now. Every single draft that we do on Underdog Fantasy, he'd be going in round 1 if people really believed in him, which they don't, but there's also good reason for why they don't. This guy's not going to get his deal. I just don't see it. If he does get to his deal on Monday, we'll come back and talk about it, but I don't think he will. The Raiders don't want to give him. He doesn't even want to play for the Raiders anyways. He doesn't like the way that the team is headed. He doesn't like that they're not going to be able to compete this year. He already knows they're not going to be able to compete. We know they're not going to be able to compete. And, and here's the thing. He's not going to get his deal because none of these other running backs are going to get their deals really either. I could see Barkley maybe getting something. But even if Barkley does get like a 3 or 4 year contract, it's not going to be at the price that he wants. He's just going to have to settle for a little bit less than what he wants. Maybe I don't know what he wants, maybe 16 or 17 mil a year, but he's not going to get it. He's going to get maybe 13, 14, or 15, but he's not going to get that 16 or 17 mil a year, which is what he wants. So, 16 or 17 mil a year, which is what he wants. So, 16 or 17 mil a year, which is what he wants. So, 16 or 17 mil a year, which is what he wants. So, 16 or 17 mil a year, which is what he wants. So, 16 or 17 mil a year, which is what he wants. So, 16 or 17 mil a year, which is what he wants. So, 16 or 17 mil a year, which is what he wants. So, 16 or 17 mil a year, which is what he wants. So, 16 or 17 mil a year, which is what he wants. So, 16 or 17 mil a year, which is what he wants. So, 16 or 17 mil a year, which is what he wants. So, 16 or 17 mil a year, which is what he wants. So, 16 or 17 mil a year, which is what he wants. So, 16 or 17 mil a year, which is what he wants. So, 16 or 17 mil a year, which is what he wants. So, 16 or 17 mil a year, which is what And Jacobs is, you know, he's the same way. I don't know what he wants, but he's not going to get it. And I don't think he's going to sign the franchise tag. I think Barkley, there's a chance he signs the franchise tag and plays. But Jacobs, I don't think there's... I think there's literally slim to no chance that he does. So I'm telling you right now, stay away from Jacobs, because look, I'm going to give you some stats to stay away from him anyways. But even if he missed, like, say he misses all of training camp and then he decides to sign the franchise tag and come and play, you still you don't want a guy who's going to miss all of training camp. He's going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt. So stay away from Josh Jacobs. Just stay away from him. All right, let's move on. Let's go to let's go over to Kamara real quick. So Alvin Kamara pleaded in no contest to a lesser misdemeanor charge, breach of the peace, stemming from a 2022 incident in Las Vegas. Obviously, that was the Pro Bowl week. You know, Smitty obviously talked about this the other day on his show. I'm under the impression that he's not going to get anything. He may get maybe a two gamer or 4 gamer, but I don't think it's going to be anything more than that. And this helps. This helps. I've done some research. I've watched some other videos where they talk about this. You know, like talking about his situation. He hired obviously some really good lawyers to get what he just have gotten. You know, he's going to get 30 hours of community service, a little more than $100,000 fine. Or well, it's not really a fine, but it's $100,000 to pay for the medical bills of the victim. Could see disciplinary action soon from the league. I don't think it's going to be that much, though. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. I think it's going to be like a 2-gamer, really. It may only be like a 1-gamer. Who knows? I don't think it'll be anything more than maybe 4, though. 4 is going to be the maximum that he gets. I drafted Kamara the other day, actually, in a couple of leagues. One was a DraftKings, one was an Underdog Fantasy. I took him in like round 8, I think both times. I think he's gonna be a steal almost where his ADP is right now. It should come up here. We'll see. But I almost can't believe what this guy got. I can't believe that he's basically getting away with this. And you know, it is what it is. This is the type of, like, you know, people want to talk about privilege in society. The only thing that matters to have privilege in society is wealth privilege, money, financial privilege. That's the only kind of privilege that really exists in our society. If you have wealth, or if you are financially stable, you have a bunch of money, you're prone to privilege that other people like me and other people who don't really have any money to their name, you know, they don't have that kind of privilege. You can buy your way out of almost anything if you have enough money in today's day and age. And that's really been true for, you know, pretty much any generation that's still alive. It's not just our generation. If you did this 30, 40 years ago, you could have bought yourself out of something. But I don't think he's going to get much, man. I don't think he's going to get much of a suspension. He may not even get suspended at all. We don't know. Well, I mean, we'll see, but I don't think it's going to be much. I can tell you right now with confidence, go draft this guy in round 8, in round 9, every single time almost. If you don't like some of the players that are on the board, take him. Take him. Now, am I drafting him in round 6? I would say no. I'm going to try to get as much of him right now as I can. I've already taken him 2 months ago and a month ago. I was taking him. I didn't take him all the time, but I took him every now and then in round 8, round 9. I've even seen him go in round 10 before. Go get this guy. You're going to want him at the price tag that he currently holds. So, because I don't think he's going to get much. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with what he did. I don't agree with how they're handling it. I don't agree with how the justice system has really handled it at all. But that's what happens when you have money and you can pay for the lawyers that he has. Probably you can get yourself out of something like this, even though there's tons of evidence out there that show he was the one. He was bragging about it in the car, this and that. It's crazy. Anybody else would be in jail for at least a couple years probably, if I had to guess. So, I mean, they call it breach of the peace. The guy stomped the guy out in the hallway, and they call it breach of the peace. That's assault battery. That's what that is. That's not breach of the peace. The fact that they're calling this a charge of breach of the peace, that's just like, that should tell you all you need to know. This guy's not getting nothing probably. If he didn't get suspended at all one game this year, I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked. So go ahead and draft him, unless you don't want to draft him because of, you know, how bad of a person that you think he is. But if you can get yourself aside from that, which I can, because, you know, it is what it is. People make mistakes. I understand that, but at the same time, it's kind of BS how they're handling this and how he's probably not going to get nothing. But that's what happens when you have financial privilege. So go ahead and draft him around 8, round 9. It's gonna be good value. He should be going in about round. Let's just put it this way: if he didn't have any of this, okay, based off the season he had last year, he would go in round 3. He'd probably go round 2, round 3, maybe creeping towards the beginning of round 4. Maybe. I doubt it. I would say he would go in front of Breece Hall. He would go close to Derrick Henry and close to Ramondre Stevenson, if I had to guess. Now, if you tack on a suspension, say it's like a 2-game suspension or even a 4-game, if you tack on a suspension to what he did last year and how name recognition he is, how good he's been over the years, he would probably go in like round 5 or 6, probably 5, 6. I doubt it he would get to 7. Let's just say he had a 2 or a 4-gamer. He wouldn't go in round 7, I don't think. So the fact that you can get him in round 8, maybe even round 9 right now, go get him. So, all right, let's move on to our last piece of news. Actually, we have 2 more pieces, I guess. Yeah. All right, Joe Mixon. Holy cow. I'm still staying away from this guy, okay? He obviously just restructured his contract to stay with the Bengals. It basically took about a $3 million decrease. He had $9.4 million non-guaranteed base salary. He agreed Friday to restructure his contract and remain in Cincinnati. Says here, Mixon's goal is to win a Super Bowl and play his career in Cincinnati, and this is the best way to accomplish these goals. Quote from his agent, Peter Schaefer. Says there's been rumors of him being a potential release candidate at some point this offseason, but he will remain the lead back in the Bengals backfield this season. Departure of Samaje Perine could open up more opportunity for Mixon in the passing game as well as out of the backfield. I disagree, but I think they're gonna work Chase in. I think Kamara is a buy, but not sure he should be near Ramondre with Williams and Miller now in the backfield, especially at PPR. Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying that's where he would be, though. I'm not saying I would take him, obviously, next to him. I'm telling you, he would be there. He would. Just because of what he's done over the years. You know, people hang, even though I think he's getting older and I think his efficiency has dropped off a little bit. I do think he would be in about round 3. You could maybe creep him up to where Najee is at the end of round 3, beginning of round 4, if he didn't have this going on. But I do think at round 8, round 9, where he's at right now, you kind of, I don't say draft him every single time you do a draft, but I would get a handful of them. I will say for the most part, though, I think he's got a year or 2 left, maybe. We'll see. We will see. It really just depends on, you know, like this year, I think he can be okay. I think Derek Carr helps. I mean, you've seen what Derek Carr was able to do with somebody like Jacobs. I know Jacobs is a little bit different of a running back than Kamara, but he will dump it to his running back. He will also throw the ball downfield as well, but Kendra, I don't know about Kendra, and I do have him as one of my sleepers, but I know Kendra is coming off like MCL. He's coming off the MCL from the semifinal game, TCU against Michigan or whoever. So I'm not sure about Kendra. I guess he'll be ready to go. They're saying he should be ready to go, but is he? You know? Jamal, I don't think Jamal is too much of a threat because Jamal is a different running back than Kamara. Jamal is a guy who's gonna, he's a goal line back. He can get you to short yardage. He's not gonna catch the ball out of the backfield, and he's not taking away anything from Kamara. So the only thing that's taken away from Kamara right now is if he gets suspension. You know, if he gets a suspension, then that's going to take away from him. I don't think Kendre Miller is... I don't think he's going to be a threat, man. Not until I see Kamara either picks up like an injury or if he's really starting to slow down. Do I have any thoughts on why Kyler is going so low in underdog drafts? Even with the news, he could be ready to go. Yeah, I was going to go over that. I haven't got to Kyler yet. I don't think Kyler's going to be ready to go. This is what this is why he's going so late. I've been telling people not to draft him. I seen a guy the other day. We're talking both Russian, talking both for the most part. I've been going kind of back and forth. I'm answering this guy's question about Kyler Murray right now. The reason why people aren't drafting Kyler, dude, is because he's not going to be ready to go. I know. I see it right here. I'm looking at it. It's talking about Kyler said in a pre-released audio clip of the Arizona Cardinals flight plan premiere that he intends to be back week 1 for the regular season. That's not going to happen. It's just not. The guy had a multiple ligament knee injury, and it was towards what? I think it was week 13, right? He's not going to be ready to go until about October. Maybe even the beginning of November. So, you know, I just don't see it, man. I don't see him starting week 1. He can say that he wants to. He can say that he wants to start week 1, but he's not going to. I just don't see it. And if he does, he's not going to be running around at all. He's not going to be the same Kyler that we're used to seeing where he's scrambling all over the place, which he's going to be doing because his team sucks. So is he as good of a quarterback if he can't move around the pocket and get outside the pocket? I don't think so. So even if he does play week 1 and he's not the same guy running the ball, which he won't be, can he still produce? So, I mean, you can take a chance. I would, you know, if you want to draft him on Underdog, you can take him maybe on a couple of teams, but I wouldn't have a ton of shares of him. So, going back to Mixon here, I think, look, Mixon's going to be the guy in Cincinnati. He's not going to get a suspension. Like, you know, if we go back to the road rage incident that he had back before the playoff game, I don't think he's going to get disciplined at all for that. This guy's gotten off the hook for a few things over the years, so I don't think Mixon's going to get really any suspension at all. He's going to be a full go. I think this is good, though, because this is going to entice people to draft him more. I don't really want anything to do with him. I know Smitty kind of said the same thing the other day. I would maybe take him if I could get him in like round 6, but I know he goes in about like the beginning of round 5 where Kenneth Walker is right now. I just don't know, man. I don't know. Look, the guy's going to be in year 7. He has major efficiency drop-offs. I can go over his efficiency drop-offs right now. This guy, I'm telling you right, this is why you don't want Joe Mixon. Let's see here. So let's go over Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, I'll tell you, this guy, stay away from this guy. He had that one good game last year where he dropped like 50-something points, 55 points. It really just depends on what league you were in. He had 5 touchdowns. This guy's efficiency. True yards per carry, he was 61st. Yards per touch, okay? Yards per touch is a big one for running backs. He was 35th. Juke rate and evaded tackles kind of go to, you know, they kind of go together. 54th in juke rate, 49th in evaded tackles. Breakaway run rate, 47th. Yards created per touch. This is also a big one for running backs. 43rd. There was 42 other running backs in the NFL that were better than him. Still like Brown as a late pick. Brown. Which Brown? AJ Brown, St. Brown, Antonio Brown. Which Brown are we talking about here? Marquise Brown. You gotta let me know which Brown we're talking about here. Yeah, yards created per touch for Joe Mixon, 43rd. And this guy, you know, his breakaway runs, he was 35th. Breakaway run rate, 47. This guy, this is the type of efficiency that we're looking at of a running back who's fell off, who's lost a step. Zeke had very major efficiency drop-offs last year as well. Chase Brown, okay. Yeah, I do like Chase Brown. I do think, I mean, how much do they use him? It really just depends. Here's the thing, Chase Brown is like, and I will say that I was probably one of the guys who brought his ADP up back in like May and June. But if you go draft right now, you can get him like in the last round. You can get him in round 17 or 18 right now, I believe. If you try to get Chase Brown now. That's how far his ADP has fallen. Let me see where his ADP is at. Chase Brown. His ADP is at 191.9 right now. So yeah, you can get him almost in round 17, round 18 even. So yeah, I definitely still like him now. You know, if Mixon gets hurt, which I'm not saying he will, and I'm not wishing for him to get hurt, but if he did, well, you know, they might bring somebody in like Kareem Hunt or Fournette from free agency or somebody like that, but I still think it would be a decent value to have Chase Brown. The problem with like taking like a Kareem Hunt who goes pretty late, or a Leonard Fournette who goes pretty late, is you don't know you don't know which team he's going to play for. If we knew he was going to go to the Bengals, like if one of those guys would go to the Bengals, then I would be, you know, I would obviously take them over Chase Brown, because I do think there's a chance that, say Mixon gets hurt, he goes down, they bring in somebody else like Kareem Hunt or Fournette or even Zeke maybe. Even though I think Zeke would be an outside shot. Fournette has a little bit more juice in the tank. So does Kareem Hunt. They have more juice in the tank than Zeke does. I'm in the draft right now, and he's here around. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's there in round 17 pretty much now. Obviously, he was going earlier back in like May and June. Probably because of me and other people. But I don't know, man. I just told you what Joe Mixon's efficiency stats were. They're not good. And when you see efficiency like that for a running back who's going into year number 7, you know, I don't know, man. I do think he could have a decent year this year. Like I wouldn't say like top 5. He could maybe flirt with top 10 running backs, but I mean, the Bengals are going to have to win the Super Bowl in order for that to happen, and Joe Burrow's going to have to be MVP, and he's going to have to stay healthy. It's going to have to be one of those types of years if Mixon is like a top 10 running back, I think, this year. I believe he was He was number 12 last year, if I'm correct. He was number 10 in my sleeper league, so he was top 10, but I gave you guys the efficiency. The efficiency is terrible. I mean, he's outside the top 30 in pretty much all of these main categories that we're looking for. True yards per carry, yards created per touch is like the big one. The guys that are good in created yards per touch that can create on their own are guys like McCaffrey, guys like Eckler, guys like Ramondre, guys like Breece Hall. Those are the guys, you know, Bijan he'll also be in that category this year. Those are the guys that are good in yards created per touch. So you got a guy who is 43rd in yards created per touch, who's supposed to be a really good running back in fantasy. That's not a good sign for him, especially when he's going into year 7. So I'm out on I'm out on Mixon, dude. I can't do it. I don't even think I have a share of him. So he's just, round 5 is too early for me. I would rather have guys like Cam Akers who go a round or 2 later than him. I'd rather have Pierce, I'd rather have J.K. Dobbins, who go kind of right around where he goes. So, did I have this last piece of news on here? What's this last piece of news? Okay, yeah, Kadarius Toney, Smitty's favorite player. This guy, Kadarius Toney. This guy's a case head, bro. This guy's a case. You guys see the things about Kadarius Toney? Like, feeding the trolls of people trolling him, and he, oh my goodness, man. If you guys ever watch Microphone, the guy's name is Microphone on YouTube. He has a video. He dives into Kadarius Toney. This was from like a day or two ago. Kadarius Toney was going on just like a rampage over like New York Giant fans. He was basically responding to them on Twitter and stuff. You know, he's basically feeding the trolls. This guy's a head case. So here's the news on Kadarius Toney. Could be one of the best receivers in the NFL, according to Patrick Mahomes, obviously. You know, and of course, you know, I wouldn't look too much into this. You know, and he's a decent receiver. He went in the first round, guy out of Florida. I liken his play style a little bit to Antonio Brown. He kind of plays like Antonio Brown a little. The only difference is he's like a poor man's Antonio Brown. And he's a head case, and he's battled injury early, his first year with the Giants. Toney, man, I don't know, man. I just think he goes too early. That's all it is. I'll draft him in like round 8 or 9, and I've actually seen him, I think, fall to like round 8 before. But when he was going in like the end of round 6, beginning of round 7 a few weeks ago, I can't do it, man. I can't do it when somebody like Dotson is sitting there. Somebody, even like Traylon Burks. I like Traylon Burks better than Toney. Addison's there as well. I can't do it with some of these other guys that are there. I just can't do it. I would almost add, like Tyler Lockett's a little bit above him. I would rather have Tyler Lockett as well. So even though Tyler Lockett's kind of old. So I just don't know, man. I don't know about Toney. I mean, Mahomes is going to say this about any of his guys. He's going to talk up any of them that he, you know what I mean? He's probably talking up Justin Ross too, and Justin Ross isn't even a starter. And I do like Justin Ross, and I think he could be something, but, we got to see it first, obviously. I don't know, man. I don't know about Toney, man. I got to see it first. I got to see it. We haven't really seen it. People could say, well, what about the playoffs last year? Well, I need to see it on a consistent basis. And we don't know if they're going to get Hopkins or not. If they get Hopkins somehow, say like this week or even next week, then I'm definitely out on him, obviously. But I don't know, man. I do not know about Toney. You get Sky more cheaper than Toney, he might be. That's kind of my view on it, Marvin. That's I have the same view as you, dude. You can get Sky more cheaper. Now, look, you probably should handcuff the two, because I do think they both kind of play the same position. The Chiefs are going to use both of them the same way. They're going to use them as that Tyreek type of player where they have them going in motion behind the line of scrimmage. Both of those guys are going to do that. And I do think you're right. Sky Moore's could be better. We don't know, because they didn't really play Sky Moore until the Super Bowl. And he's going to be, he is cheaper. You can get Sky Moore in like round 11 or 12. And Toney's going 5 rounds before him, basically. So I think Sky Moore's ADP's kind of crept up a little bit now. But like last month, back in June, early June, you could have got Sky Moore at like 130 overall. Somewhere around there. So yeah, I'm definitely with you, Marvin, on Toney. Some people are going to disagree. Smitty obviously loves Toney, and I don't, I've taken Toney in round 7. I don't do it often, but I've done it before. I'm not going to sit here and say it. But every time I've drafted Toney, I have Sky Moore on my team, like every single time. I don't reach on Sky Moore, but I make sure I get him whenever he's in the round that he needs to go. So And Tony is my wide receiver 3. If I draft him, he is wide receiver 3. He's not wide receiver 2. He's not wide receiver 1. He's wide receiver 3. Do not take him as anything more than that, because you might regret it if you do. So, all right, I'm gonna give you guys. We added some guys to our nuclear player list. I know I said I was going to, and I haven't really gotten to it, but I ended up adjusting it today, and here it is.
These players are going nuclear in 2023, dropping mushrooms on the competition. Draft as many nuclear players as you can to demolish other league members in fantasy football this year.
So we added Trevor Lawrence, we added Cam Akers, we added David Montgomery. These are the guys that I really like this year. I try to give you guys players that are not going to, I should say hopefully they don't turn around and bite you guys, in the rear end and really stick it to you guys this year. Some of these guys are drafted in round 1, round 2. Obviously, some of these guys are value guys that you can get in later rounds as well. But these are the guys that I really like, that I think really there's almost no going wrong with these guys this year. So we got 3 quarterbacks now. We still have 3 wide receivers. We might have to get a couple more wide receivers in here. And then we got 5 running backs now, 1 tight end. So, there's some other value picks out there that I like that aren't really on the list, but this is kind of the exclusive list of guys that will provide for you guys this year. Montgomery maybe not provide as much, but at his value, he's very, very good at his value when you can get him in round 8, I believe. So that is kind of my reasoning for putting Montgomery on here. I do think he is going to outperform expectation of a lot of people this year as well. So that's the news for you guys. Those are the nuclear players as well. If you guys have any more questions, let me know. Like I said, this is the first time I've been live in about 2 weeks. I've been doing work. I've been, obviously I have these guys working on the apartment complex, so haven't really been able to go live unless I do it at night, and I've been going to bed kind of early the last week or so. So, some of these other, let me go over some of these other headlines, I should say. Obviously, Quentin Williams, defensive tackle for the Jets, he got a record-breaking extension. That's good for them. They needed to get that done. The Kyler Murray stuff here, talking about being back for week 1, I wouldn't look into that very much, really. He's just, he wants to be back for week 1. That doesn't mean he's going to be. There's significant medical evaluation from doctors that say that's kind of a long shot for him to be ready by week 1. So I wouldn't look into it too much. This is a good one right here. Sam Howell, quote, isn't coming off the field, according to a scout. Sam Howell is getting some preseason buzz, this time from a scout, fantasy analyst Matthew Berry trusts. According to the scout, if, quote, Sam Howell gets on the field, he ain't coming off. And this is what we like to hear. I've obviously been up on Sam Howell this year. I draft him almost every single time, in the late rounds of a underdog draft. I love to go get Sam Howell as my 3rd QB or 2nd QB if I'm waiting on QB. I think he's going to be the guy. So let's go ahead and jump into I'm going to go ahead and jump into a fast puppy right now. Let's just see what we can get going here. Waiting on like 7 people or so. If you go Cam Akers in Dynasty, make sure you grab Zach Evans because he's a stud. Yeah, Yeah, in Dynasty. Yeah, I would say in Dynasty, I would make sure I grab him. Of course, it just depends on how big your roster size is, too. I love Cam Akers this year. Cam Akers, I think, is one of the dark horse of the running backs this year. We'll get into the running backs here after I do this draft. I'm going to go over this little spreadsheet that I made yesterday, talking about basically top 20 running backs over the years from 2015 to present day. And there's some kind of, there's some things you can draw from it whenever I show you guys the stats and everything. So there's going to be a couple of conclusions you guys can draw from it to maybe guide you in the right direction of drafting certain running backs and not drafting certain running backs this year. So, but let's do this draft real quick. I haven't done a draft in a couple of days, so I think I did a couple the other day, and I had like pick number 8, and then I had pick number 9, I think. So now we're in the middle of the field here. So it's coming up quick. I don't have the phone view up, so I'm just gonna do the board view here, and then I'm gonna draft off the phone. All right, so we're on the clock. This is where you got Cooper Kupp, you got Tyreek Hill, you got Eckler, you got Diggs, all those guys. I haven't really taken much of Diggs. I probably should take him here, but I just like Cooper Kupp too much, man. I got enough of Tyreek. I don't think Tyreek's going to get any, he's not going to get any discipline for obviously what we haven't even really heard about back when he smacked a guy on the back of the head during a fishing trip. But he's going to be fine. I wouldn't worry about Tyreek. If you're a Tyreek Hill owner, he's not going to get suspended. He's going to play. Cooper Kupp, though, is, in the 4th or 5th spot, I like to take Cooper Kupp a little more than Tyreek. I know I have, I do have Cooper Kupp ahead here on my rankings down below. So let's go over here in this corner. So Bijan goes 10. I know Bijan's ADP is kind of falling a little bit. He used to go like 8, 7, even 6, I think, for the most part. Now his ADP is kind of back up to like 10 for, I don't know how that happened, but it's kind of weird. So now Bijan, you can almost get Bijan maybe at the 11 or 12 spot, depending on depending on the draft that you're in. Got Kupp at 5-2. That's good. I like Cooper Kupp a lot this year. If he can stay healthy, they're going to be slinging the ball so much. Their defense is terrible. The Rams defense is going to be terrible. Their secondary is horrible, especially now that Ramsey's gone. It's terrible. They're going to be giving up so many points. They're going to be forced to throw the ball a lot. I think you're going to see Akers in the passing game a little more than expected probably this year. I think Akers is one of those guys who finished outside the top 30 last year. He finished off his season really good, and I think he surprises a lot of people and maybe jumps into like the top 10 of running backs this year. So, all right, so we got a decision to make here. We probably get quarterback in around 4 or 5. We could go quarterback now, but I'm not going to. I'm going to take this guy because I'm not taking Jonathan Taylor. I'm going to take Chris Olave, get another receiver. We'll go receiver heavy here. I'm surprised Pollard went this early. That's kind of a surprise to me. This guy goes Mahomes, Kelsey stack. Yeah, I do like I do like the Rams and the Saints schedule a little bit. The Saints have like the easiest schedule according to the strength of schedule report. I don't know who exactly they have in week 17 now. Dang it, that guy took Brees. So I'm just gonna go Stevenson here. I think Stevenson's kind of the safer pick. I don't like Stevenson as much in Underdog as I would like a full PPR league, obviously. I still like him enough to take him here in round 3. The Patriots have the toughest schedule, obviously, in the league this year, so that kind of sucks for Stevenson. But Stevenson, I don't know, man. Even though they have the toughest schedule, he still might surprise us here. I know he's more of a pass-catching guy, really. He had 210 carries last year, so maybe he gets to about 250. I think he's still going to have that receiving upside. The question is, how many times does he get in the end zone? He didn't get in the end zone really that much over his first couple years, probably due to, you know, sharing the backfield with Damian Harris, but we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully he gets in the end zone a little more this year is what I'm hoping for. He's going to have to. He's going to have to. So this guy got Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, and JJ. Gosh, that's a really good start at the number 1 spot. You know how hard this is to get? This was hard to get like a month ago because somebody would take Jalen Hurts like at 20 or 21 or 19, and even Devontae Smith, he would go here in the middle or towards the end of the second round. You almost couldn't get him if you had the number 1 pick. This is really good by this guy. This is a really good start. If he gets like Akers or Dobbins or some of these other valued running backs down here, that's not going to be good. He's going to have a really good team. So Calvin Ridley, Keenan Allen, Najee, Etienne, Gibbs. I do like Gibbs a little bit this year. I don't like him as much though in Underdog. I like Najee better than really both of these guys on Underdog because he's going to get the carries. I mean, Gibbs is going to be a good receiving back. Like I said, if you have a premium on like receiving backs, like out of position scoring, where you get running backs who score receiving touchdowns and there's like a premium on it. I'm actually in one of those leagues. Gibbs will be really he'll be a first round or even a beginning of the second round pick probably this year in my one draft. This guy did not just take Trevor Lawrence. God, dude. I was thinking about taking Trevor Lawrence in like round 5. That's not going to happen. I know he took Calvin Ridley, but gosh, man, he could have waited. He could have waited till round 5 probably to get him. That's crazy. Mike Williams. Debo's still on the board. Debo's ADP is like 35 too. Guy took Joe Burrow. Goodness gracious, man. Putting the pressure on me here. Okay. Look at Joe Mixon's ADP. It's climbing up. It's 47.9. So there goes Debo. I'm gonna take a chance. I'm gonna take a chance with this here, this play. I'm gonna go DJ Moore. I wanted to go Christian Kirk. I got a lot of Christian Kirk though, so I'm not too worried about Christian Kirk. Just so you guys know, this is like, I've done so many drafts, man. Try not to judge me too hard. This guy just went 4 running backs. That's crazy. I would take Christian Kirk like 7 out of 10 times right here with this team usually. I do like Kirk. I think he's probably, next to DJ Moore, I think he's probably the best receiver on the board. I thought about Kenneth Walker. thought about Kenneth Walker, but it wasn't a... I have a lot of Kenneth Walkers. Well, I don't have a ton of them, but I got a decent amount of Kenneth Walker as well. Let's see here. This guy takes Justin Fields. That's unbelievable. That's who I was hoping to get. If this guy takes Herbert, I'm going to be so mad. We're taking Herbert, just so you guys know. If he's there. He's like the last great quarterback. Take a receiver, dude. This freaking piece of crap. Alright, so we're left with no choice. This guy shouldn't... I shouldn't take him either. I'm going to take him because he's the best guy available. I should take a running back, or I should take Hawkinson. I'm going to take Watson, though. He should have been off the board like 13 picks ago. We got sniped. The guy took Herbert. We probably just should have taken Herbert or Fields with the 4th round pick. I didn't think... This is a weird draft, man. I didn't think that these guys would take these guys so quick. I really didn't think Lawrence... I should have known when Lawrence came off the board right here to just take a quarterback. That's okay. We're just gonna go late quarterback then. That's fine. I got a couple of guys that I like to take that are guys you can wait on. So we're gonna try to get somebody like Cam Akers maybe on the way back here. I don't know if he's gonna be there, but it's gonna be close. My guess is he won't be there. His ADP's falling. That's okay. This will be something different. This is definitely a different team for me. We're good at receiver though, which is the good news. We're just gonna have to take some value RBs, and we're gonna have to get a couple of late quarterbacks that hopefully pan out for us here. Yeah, so I have these playoff weeks. These are kind of the playoff weeks that you know, certain games for each week that I kind of looked at. I mean, I may have to go back and double check this. I haven't checked it in a minute. These are just some notable games that I look at that I'm like, okay, these kind of catch my eye. Maybe we take players from these particular teams. This does kind of matter in the best ball strategy, because if you can get to week 16 or week 17, if you get certain players for one of these games, like say you got a bunch of Philly players, and even if you get some Arizona guys, you may, you know, if Philly drops 40 on Arizona and you get some Philly players, you might be able to win week 17. So, Stafford, Carr, Howe, yeah. I plan on probably taking Stafford to link him up, or even Derek Carr, yeah, with those receivers I have. I also was thinking about Kirk Cousins, obviously, as well. But yeah, looking at these weeks, you know, I may need to go back and look at week 17 and see if I can find a couple more games. I only have six games here, so I don't know who. Not quite sure who. Let me check here. I can check my other screen here. I don't know who the Rams play. And I don't know who, I don't know who some of these other teams play here. So week 17, we got... See, this is why I'm not as high on, say, like... I do like Cleveland a little bit. I do like, obviously, the New York Jets. I do like Breece Hall. I obviously like having Aaron Rodgers and a Garrett Wilson stack. But they play on Thursday. Week 17, which is just not good. You don't want teams that play on Thursday. So it looks like we got gifted with Cam Akers. I can't believe he's still on the board here. So we're going to take Akers, no hesitation. Detroit and Dallas play Saturday. That's not as bad. And they play in Dallas, which is going to be indoors, so the weather won't be really a factor. So that could be, you know, those could be two teams maybe you target. That could be a high scoring game as well, Dallas and Detroit. You know, New Orleans playing at Tampa Bay. I'm telling you right now, you guys, I like New Orleans a little bit. I like the Saints. Let's go back to this real quick. I mean, you got the Saints. I only have the Saints on here like once, right? So the Saints play in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's good weather. Rams play the Giants. Yeah, the Saints play Tampa Bay. That's going to be good weather. Tampa Bay's terrible. They're going to be horrible this year. Their defense is old. Who do the Saints play week 16? They play Thursday against the Rams, which sucks that it's a Thursday game, but that could be a little bit of a high scoring game as well. And I got I got guys that go for both of those teams already. Okay, decision time. We're not going to go quarterback, obviously. I know Deshaun Watson's kind of close. We're not going to take him. I'm going to go... So they already kind of took my guy. I'm gonna take a chance with this guy. I don't have much of him, but I'm going to take Goddard. I think Goddard could be good if he stays healthy. You know, Philly has a pretty good playoff schedule. Let's go back to our playoff schedule here. I mean, they finish off with the Cardinals, who they should just drop like 40 on them. They're 7-point favorites here on Monday Night Football with the Chiefs here to play against the Giants. So, and then they got Seattle week 15, which isn't bad. They're actually favored in that game as well. At least last I checked, they were. I don't know if that's changed or not, but that actually could be a decently high-scoring game as well. Both of the offenses on those teams are pretty good, so... Let's go back here. So let's go back to week 16. Let's go to week 15, actually. Who does the Saints play week 15? They play at home against New York, you know, so I don't know how high scoring that game will be. Maybe not quite as much, but I do like their week 17 matchup, though, against Tampa Bay. That's one that they could go put up a ton of points on, you know. Tampa Bay, they're terrible. They're gonna be terrible this year. But the Saints have one of the best schedules in the league this year next to Atlanta, so. Also in Cleveland, late December, yeah. All right, so who do we go here now? Kamara's ADP is 95.6. We could grab Kamara. We could grab... This is kind of the receiver dead zone for me. Right here is round 8 and 9. This is like a receiver dead zone for me. I don't care really about Bateman. I really don't care about Flowers. I definitely don't care about Mike Thomas. I don't care about Cortland Sutton's okay. I don't think he should be ranked below those guys. Cortland Sutton's okay. Jameson Williams is okay, but he does have the suspension. The thing about it is we already got 4 receivers, so we don't need another one. We need to go get a running back. And I'm going to take... That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go Kamara. I'm going to take him while he's there. He's going to be my third guy. I'm going to go get another running back here in round 9 as well, as long as the right one is there. I would love to take A.J. Dillon, but that's going to be a big if. I don't know if he's going to be there. It's going to be close. I would like to get A.J. Dillon, though. As far as the bye weeks are concerned, I think we're looking pretty good. I haven't even been looking. We're doing good at the receiver spot. We have week 11, 11, and 10 on the running back. So we might need, we need to go get another running back. It's got a different bye week. No, I'm not taking Mike Thomas, dude. I can't do it, dude. I just can't. I have no shares of Thomas, man. And maybe I might be wrong for that. I don't know. He is there. He's at the top of the list right now. The guy's not getting any younger, man. He's not getting any younger. and I think he's going to be injury plagued the rest of his career, to be honest. So I ain't gonna lie, dude. Thomas kind of burned me a little bit last year. I did take him a little bit last year. He burned me bad on a couple of teams. I'm glad this guy took him before me, so we don't even have to have the conversation. So we're taking AJ Dillon. I think AJ Dillon's a little bit. He's kind of in that. He's kind of in that Cam Akers, David Montgomery. I think he's kind of in that, you know, he's in that category where he could be good. If you see Aaron Jones go down with an injury this year, which I'm not wishing that upon him, but if you see that, watch out for AJ Dillon as a late round, you know, late sleeper at running back here in round 9. So I think you could have even got him in like round 10 in some of these drafts, you know, a few weeks ago. Yeah, I like AJ Dillon, man. Dillon is a decent running back if he gets the opportunity. He just has to get the opportunity is the thing. So Richardson is still on the board, so is Dak Prescott at quarterback. Cousins, Daniel Jones, Geno, Rodgers, all those guys are still there. Even the tight ends are still there. Freiermuth and Njoku are still there. Kind of surprised. I think we're going to be okay at running back. This team is going to need a really good quarterback, like a dark horse quarterback, though, to carry me. I'm not going to sugarcoat it at all. I don't usually like doing this. But I do like Cousins. He's got, I mean, you guys see I got Minnesota on here every single week. Minnesota on the road in Cincinnati. They are 5-point underdogs. That could still be a high-scoring game, though. Both of those teams are high-scoring offenses. Same thing with, you know, they're a 1-point favorite against Detroit week 16 at home. 2.5-point favorites at home against Green Bay week 17. I would love to get Cousins here. Hopefully Cousins falls to me. That's what we're going for. I mean, I'm going to try to get either Jordan Love or a Derek Carr or Matthew Stafford to go with him, or two of those guys maybe to go with Cousins, but I want Cousins. I know I don't really have anybody to go with Cousins, but I still want him. So Cousins every single year over the last 4 years, his pass attempts have gone up every single year. And it's not going to change this year at all. It's not going to change one bit. So his pass attempts are going to keep going up. And maybe they don't go up this year, but they're going to hover around where where it's always been. Let's see here, Cousins. Yeah, the last 4 years. So back in 2019, 444 pass attempts, 516 3 years ago. 2021, 561, and then last year 643. So no doubt in my mind we're taking this guy. They just got rid of Dalvin Cook, so they're probably gonna lean against the run. You know, they're gonna lean away from the run a little bit this year compared to last year. So that just means they're going to be chucking the ball even more. And I believe they were like a top 5 defense that allowed the most points last year defensively. So they're going to be in plenty of shootouts, plenty of passing the ball. So give me Kirk Cousins as QB1. Kirk Cousins is without a doubt, I think, the best value quarterback down here between Dak. I'll even throw Tua in there. Pretty much everybody after Deshaun Watson. Cousins is probably the best, like, low risk value quarterback. So Do you think this year's worth it all to go robust running back strategy? I think zero RB strat is the go this year. Yeah, to a degree. To a degree. I think you should try to get one running back here in like round 3 or 4. Or if you go Bijan, like let's just say you go Bijan round 1, I wouldn't touch running. Like let's just say the first 4 rounds, you get one running back, kind of like what I did, and then maybe don't touch it again until you get like Akers. I consider Dobbins. I mean, you like, you know, if you go like this guy right here, this guy got Dobbins as his first running back in round 5. That's not bad. I don't consider that I mean, it's a strategy. It's a strategy for sure. I think it is a good strategy as well. I do think there's some good value running backs like Montgomery, like JK, like Akers, like even Rashad White to a degree, AJ Dillon. Yeah, there's some good guys that you can take down here. I can't believe this guy's still on the board, bro. I gotta take him. I don't know why he's still on the board. I didn't suspect this guy would be there, so I'm gonna take him. I'm gonna take Richardson. I know there's talk about him. There's talk about like Minshew starting, which I do think is there's a chance that Minshew becomes the starter week 1, but eventually Richardson is gonna take over. And if you're gonna give me a 23 spot discount on his ADP, I'm going to take it. I don't really care for some of these receivers anyways. I'm still going to get one of my other quarterbacks to go with one of my receivers though, obviously. We're going to have to reach a little bit, but it is what it is. I don't know why Richardson is still on the board, so I got to take him. I got to take him over the likes of Juju, Zay Jones, Mooney, Myers, Lazard. But yeah, dude, yeah, Zion, I do like the zero RB strategy to a degree. Am I gonna go? I mean, could you go 5, you know, rounds 1 through 5 without a running back? Sure, but I would like to get one of these guys in this range, you know, one of these guys to go along with my other, like in this case, I got Stevenson. You may see me take Breece Hall. You may take, you know, you may see me take Bijan. You know, I don't really have much shares of these other guys in round 2. I do have a little bit of Nick Chubb. Even Najee Harris. You could go Najee Harris on like round 3 or round 4 if you're down here where this guy is. You can take receivers here or 2 receivers and a quarterback. And then you could go, you know, you could try to get like Pierce like this guy did, and then Pacheco or any other combination of other guys that you like. So Algier right here, that's a reach. This guy has Bijan, doesn't he? Yeah. That is a reach. Oh, and on Jaden Reed, I think he will be the best player this year out of all the rookie wide receivers. He just has all the tool set to be great. I agree. I don't know if he's going to be the best out of all the rookies, but he's going to be, I would say he's probably top 5. He might even be top 3. I have a ton of Jaden Reed, so don't take this as negative. I have a ton of Jay. I'm on the same train you are as far as Jaden Reed goes. I do think Jaden Reed is super undervalued. And what people don't know about Jaden Reed is that he plays for the Packers, and that the Packers love to play their rookie receivers. So he's going to have a ton of opportunity to play, and he's already a starter. So let's see what else you said. What if you go P. Ryan Gibson as your 2 running backs, but the trade-off is you go quarterback? But here's the thing, dude. If you go quarterback and 4 receivers, say your first 5 picks, why aren't you getting somebody like Akers in round 6? Why aren't you taking a stab at maybe? I mean, I know Dobbins. I got Dobbins in round 6 like a month ago. I don't think you can get him in round 6 anymore. But why aren't you taking like Pierce or Akers, or taking a shot at one of these guys in round 7 or 8? Connor should not have gone that high. He wouldn't go that high in a normal draft. This guy reached on him. But that's what I'm saying. Why aren't you taking a stab at one of those running backs as well, though? Is my question. Just don't do what Team 2 did. What did Team 2 do? I'm looking. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that team really either. Not from the 2 spot. When you're drafting from the 1 or 2 spot, you should have a really good team. Like, really good. Alright, so I think we can wait on one of our quarterbacks here since we are picking pretty quick. I do like Mingo, and I have a ton of Mingo. I'm going to pass on Mingo this time, though. I'm going to go Van Jefferson. I do believe Stafford, when Stafford said it, Jefferson could be in for a big year. I also got Cooper Kupp. Let's try to get Stafford on the way back and just get all of this Rams offense. Look, I know the Rams are going to be terrible this year. They're not going to be good. They're not going to contend for a playoff spot, but they're going to be behind in so many games that you could just see them slinging the ball week in and week out. Stafford, if Stafford, Jefferson, Kupp, they all stay healthy, Akers, you could see, like, literally they won't be able to stop anybody, and they're just going to be in a shootout most weeks, you know. They're going to be forced to just sling the ball with Stafford, and I think Akers will get a lot of passing work as well as a running back, kind of similar to like what Jacobs got last year. Akers is one of my candidates for like who could be the Josh Jacobs of this year. It's Cam Akers, it's J.K. Dobbins. I think Akers is a little bit suited to be more of like what Jacobs was last year because he's a better receiving back. He's got better receiving ability than somebody like Dobbins, and he plays for a team that would actually use him like that, whereas I don't think the Ravens would use Dobbins like that. So all right, so we got Carr and Stafford here. I'm gonna go Stafford just because I already have like all the Rams offense, so I might as well just go with Stafford. Wary of Cam. He finished great down the stretch, but with healthy QB and Kupp, I don't think so, man. I don't think so. I mean, they are going to pass more, but they're still going to use him. This offensive coordinator that they have apparently loves to use the running backs in the passing game. So I would maybe look into that and just go look. I forget who the offensive coordinator is, what his name is. But he's known for kind of using the running backs in the passing game to a degree. And look, Akers he's not Mixon, he's not Eckler, he's not even Ramondre, he's not McCaffrey, but he could catch about 40 to 50 this year, which if he does, and he is, you know, he runs for maybe 1,200 yards, he could be one of those guys that comes out of nowhere. Yeah. You know, he could be one of those guys that comes out, you know, out of nowhere. You gotta think, dude, Cam Akers was like outside of the top 30 in fantasy last year. I'm not saying he's going to be number 1 overall, but I'm saying he could creep into the top 10 out of nowhere. And you're getting him at round 6. You could have got him in round 7, say a few weeks ago, but now he's in round 6. That's still a good value. You gotta think Jacobs was going round 5 or 6 last year, and he ended up being basically, you know, number 1 running back in like a standard type of league. So what's this guy's name here? Mike LaFleur. That's right, Mike LaFleur. So Mike LaFleur is the same guy who was the offensive coordinator for the Jets last year, right? That replaced him, but he used Brees and Michael Carter in the passing game a ton last year whenever the Jets were playing good, obviously early before Brees got hurt. So Mike LaFleur is the offensive coordinator now for the Rams. He loves to use the running backs in the passing game. That's why Brees was doing so well early on. He was catching the ball out of the backfield. So was Michael Carter to a degree as well. So look for them. I'm telling you right now, and look, I know you guys may, whoever was talking about Zach Evans. Zach Evans has no threat to Cam Akers this year at all. The only way he's going to get hardly any playing time is if Akers goes down with injury. So, all right, we're back on the board here. Let's see. Let's go. What do you know it? Our guy's right there, Jaden Reed. We're going to take him. Get us another receiver. We do need to think about tight end, though, here pretty soon. I've been kind of putting tight end on the back burner after getting Goddard. We're up to 6. I almost wish I didn't take Richardson, but oh well. I almost wish I didn't take Richardson. I could have taken a tight end right there, and then I could be taking maybe Jordan Love here as my third quarterback. Maybe. Jordan Love's probably going to go here in a second. Yeah, Josh Jacobs went in like round 5, round 6 last year, so you got to think of it in terms like that. I'm not saying that, you know, Akers should be the number 1 running back this year, but he could creep into the top 10 easily. Easily. And another thing, like the other case I would make for Akers is that, so he had the Achilles injury, which obviously is devastating for a running back, but he's now 2 years removed from that, and it usually takes about 2 years for a running back to get his full burst back from one of those types of injuries, like an Achilles. And so now that is the case. And so I'm just telling you, I would look out for Cam Akers this year. Yeah, he's now officially like 2 years removed from the Achilles, which is usually about the timetable it takes to get away from you know, to get his burst explosion back from that type of injury. So all right, here we got to get a tight end, man, in the worst way. That guy took Taysom Hill back there, son of a gun. What do we do? What do we do here? Tight end. Let's go. I think this guy's the safest play. They've really taken a bunch of the tight ends here. They took a bunch of them off the board there in round 13. We're gonna go Juwan Johnson. Another Saint guy, so that kind of helps. We got him and Chris Olave. It's tough, man, with that Saints offense. They got so many pieces. They got Kamara. Obviously, we'll see what happens with the suspension, but now you got Derek Carr. They do like to use Juwan Johnson a little bit, but they also use Taysom Hill. They also have Chris Olave. Who knows what's going on with Mike Thomas, right? Mike Thomas could be his old self again, maybe. There's a lot of pieces on that Saints offense that you just kind of, a little bit of uncertainty of which direction they're going to go. We're not going to really know until the season starts to play out and say like an injury comes up or something. You know, it's going to be tough to know like who's getting the work share. So that's the only thing I don't really like about the Saints right now. There's a lot of moving pieces that aren't set in stone. Like in, you know, when it comes to like the Rams or the Vikings, you know it's going to be Jefferson, you know it's going to be Kupp, you know it's going to be a little bit of Akers, you know, for the Rams. You know what's going to happen with those guys, with those teams. The Saints are kind of a mystery almost because they got a new quarterback coming in, so we don't really know. God, this guy took Sam Howell, dude, in round 15. What the heck, man? All these guys that we love to get are just, they're going so much earlier than what they were 4 or 5 weeks ago. It's crazy. Isaiah Hodgins went, dude. Like, what is going on? Yeah, Higbee. I was thinking about Higbee too. I seen he was gone as well. Higbee is like consistent. That's all. That's what Higbee is. He's just a consistent guy to get you a little more than 100 points at the tight end position. I do like Higbee to a degree if you can get him as like tight end 3. I'm obviously behind the 8 ball on tight end because I went with these quarterbacks. This is what happens when you wait on quarterback too long and you miss out on Burrow and Lawrence and Herbert. But this is also kind of a result from picking from the 5 spot. The 5 spot sucks. You don't want to be picking in the middle. Okay. not going after Kamara. Like, he's good. He's good back, but him as character, can't draft a guy who laughs about sending out. Yeah, I know, dude. It's terrible what he did. It's terrible. I almost thought the same way as you, but then again, at the same time, I'm like, well, what the heck, dude? Everybody else is allowed to draft this guy, and they're probably gonna. I mean, who knows? He may be a bust this year. You know, who knows? But you're also getting him at really, really good value. But I do agree. It's tough to draft a guy like that who's. That's what happens when you got financial privilege, man. That's what I was getting at. I don't even know who I'm gonna take right here, bro. I guess I'm gonna take this guy. I don't even know. I'm just clicking on somebody at this point. Yeah, man. Some of these running backs, you know, it's crazy, dude. It's just crazy that like Ray Rice got what he got back when he Tysoned his wife. You know, if you guys remember that. And then it's like Kareem Hunt kind of got what he got, in which I felt bad because I didn't feel bad for what he did, but I'm a Chiefs fan. You know, I'm from Kansas City. I live in Kansas City. I love the Chiefs, you know, and it hurt to see Kareem Hunt just go, and then literally a team, you know, the Browns picked him up. You know what I mean? And it sucked, dude, because Kareem Hunt was a good running back, bro. Those first 2 years in Kansas City, he was so good. And so, you know, it's weird for Kansas City to not have a good run. I don't feel like we have that type of running back, and we haven't had that type of running back since Kareem Hunt. But you got to think, dude, the Chiefs have always had a good running back. We've had the Priest, we had Larry Johnson for a couple of years, we had Jamal Charles, Spencer Ware had a good year for us. We've always had a good running back, it seems like, and it seems like over the last couple of years we haven't. I think Pacheco's okay, but Pacheco's not one of those guys, dude. Like, he's not a Jamal Charles. He's not Kareem Hunt. He's not as talented as those guys. We're going to go to this guy. I don't think I'm going to see him on the way back, and we need another tight end. Speaking of Kareem Hunt, there he goes. But, yeah, I mean, you think about, like, what Ray Rice did. You know, obviously Kareem Hunt got what he got. Kareem Hunt kind of got let off easy a little bit, you know. I don't think his situation wasn't as bad as Ray Rice's, though. But you look at like Tyreek Hill, you look at Mixon. Now you're looking at, I'm telling you right now, dude, Kamara, don't be shocked if he doesn't get anything. These guys are getting away with, like, I mean, I read you guys the freaking report. It said disturbance of like the peace or whatever. The dude stomped a guy out in the hallway and he got breach of the peace or whatever it was. Disturbance of the peace. Like, that doesn't even make any sense, bro. Disturbance of the peace is be like right now at like 10:30 at night. I circle the block and I'm just blaring music to the max. That's disturbance of the peace. Not stomping a guy out in the hallway. You know, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. But when you got the money that these guys got, they pay the best lawyers and they can get away with some of this stuff, or they can get it down to a lesser charge. The NFL, it doesn't seem like the NFL is, you know, really coming down hard on it really much. And I mean, who knows? They're so inconsistent with everything. Who knows? Madison, P. Ryan, Gibson, Monty, Pacheco. Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with those guys either. I agree. Yeah, I think Madison, or not Madison, I think Montgomery's going to be good this year. I mean, he is stepping into a really good offensive line, really good offense compared to what he had in Chicago. We know what his role is going to be. He's going to have, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to have tons of opportunities to score. Yeah, I didn't really see much of the Elliott stuff. I do remember them talking about the Elliott stuff. I didn't think there was really much into Devontae Adams' situation last year, but I was kind of hoping he would get suspended because the guy I was chasing in fantasy last year had him on his team, and he was just like winning him every single week. Because in my fantasy league, we don't play head to head. We go off total points for the whole year. So each week kind of matters. But yeah, these guys are I mean, they're getting away with a lot nowadays. It seems like. I don't know, man. Especially Kamara. This one's a no-brainer, dude. I mean, they got this guy on camera, multiple angles, and they had the video of him in the car bragging about it. So it's not like Richie James could be a decent slot guy. Yeah, I just don't know how much playing time Richie James is gonna get, dude. Richie James is a good player. He's a very good slot guy, but he's also kind of competing with Tony and Sky Moore to play the same position. So the thing about the Chiefs, bro, and I'll say this, like, I'm a Chiefs fan, been a Chiefs fan my whole life. I can tell you guys this right now about the Chiefs. Other than Kelsey, and obviously depending if they get Hopkins, it's going to be hard to trust, you know. What do we need to take here? We need to take a receiver. Hold on a sec. Let me make this pick. We're going to take Tank Dell. Yeah, all right. So the thing about the Chiefs receivers, dude, especially now that Hill's gone, and we just have Kelsey at tight end, who you know Kelsey's going to get the work share. We spread the ball around so much. Mahomes spreads the ball around so much. One week it's going to be Tony who has a good week. The next week it might be Scantling. The next week after that it could be Sky Moore. The next week after that it could be somebody we don't even know, right? It could be like Ross or Justin Watson. You know, Justin Watson's been on the team. You know, like Justin Watson's probably going to get more playing time than somebody like Richie James. And a lot of people don't even know who Justin Watson is. So Rice isn't going to do anything this year. Don't draft Rice. Reed does not play his rookie receivers. You look at Sky Moore last year, he didn't get a ton of playing time until like the playoffs, because I don't know why that is. I don't know if it just like if it's a trust thing with Andy Reid. I don't know why he doesn't play the rookies as much. I'm telling you right now, don't be shocked if Rice doesn't get a whole lot of playing time this year. He's not even really a starter, obviously, on the depth chart. But Reid does not like to throw rookies into the fire. I do think the Chiefs have a really complicated playbook, and that may be one of the reasons why. But I'm telling you right now, Rice is a guy that I would, especially like let's see, like where did Rice go in this draft? He probably, I'm going to tell you right now, he went too early. Okay, he went right here around 12, 142. Rice was going like up here in the 125, 26, 27 range, like basically over the last few weeks. He's obviously dropped a little bit, but this is still too high for him. Like, I would rather have Mingo over Rice all day, every day, twice on Sunday. I would rather probably have DJ Chark. I would rather have Jaden Reed, obviously. I would probably take Rashid Shaheed over him. And Alec Pierce. Some of these other guys like Hodgins and Curtis Samuel and even Thornton, I'd rather have those guys over him. And they go 3 rounds later. Make bets on how many quarterbacks 49ers will go through this year. I bet they go through 3. 3 might be a little low. Yeah, I agree, Zion. I agree. Thoughts on Nakua from the Rams? Man, yeah, Nakua, the guy out of BYU, he could be good. He could be good. He could be. I don't know how much they're going to use him this year. He's going to need probably a significant injury to get a ton of playing time to be kind of relevant, but he's a guy that like if you're in Dynasty, and I don't really know what round you could probably get him in a super late round in Dynasty as well, but I would think about maybe snagging him. He's very kind of similar to how Cooper Kupp is, in my opinion. And it's not because they're both white, but they kind of play similar. They both kind of play similar. They're both kind of taller guys that can play on the outside. I think Nakua, like, I wouldn't be so high on him this year, but in like year 2, year 3 of his career, I would maybe look out for that guy. If you have him in Dynasty, or if you can get him in Dynasty, I would think about getting him in Dynasty. I don't know what kind of draft pick you would spend to get him, but it would probably be, it wouldn't be like a super early pick, I wouldn't think. You could probably get him in like the later rounds. Yeah, look out for Nakua. I like that guy. I mean, he's playing behind Jefferson, Cup, and then obviously Skoranek, I think, as well. Of course, I think he's probably a better player than Skoranek at some point this year, I would think. But you got to think, man, if he, because who knows how much longer Cup has? Cup maybe only has like 2 or 3 years left, maybe. But so maybe he learns from Cooper Cup. Like, sitting behind him, maybe he learns from him. And so maybe by year 2 or year 3, he could be a guy that we're talking about in the first 5 or 6 rounds, you know? So, but as far as this year goes, yeah, I mean, I would take a gamble. Like, if you're in a draft where you have more than 18 rounds, say you have like a 22 round draft, yeah, I'm taking him. I'm taking him in a late round, like 18, 19, 20. I didn't take him in this draft, obviously. This guy took him right here, but he's a guy that I would consider, you know, super, super late, obviously, this year. But he's also a guy down the road I would keep my eye on. So, all right, let's go over. I'm going to go over this here. Let me go to the full screen here. Let me see here, actually. All right, let me go to full screen. Let me... I think I gotta click on this. Here we go. All right, so this is a little spreadsheet I got. Let me move the camera. Is the camera gonna move? No, the camera's not gonna move. All right, so if we go over, I'm hoping you guys can see this here. So in 2015, 2016, and then obviously 2017 is down here. We get 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and then last year. Let me see if I can move this webcam here. Yeah, let's go like right here-ish. Kinda. Let's go right there. So let's start over here on the right side, okay? Let's start over here on the right side at 2015, 2016. So these were the top 20 running backs as far as total touches go. So we're looking at total touches here, which is this column right here. This is total touches right here. So, you know, we start in 2015 here. You know, you got running back wasn't as heavy this year. But you look at these guys at the top, right, in total touches. Now, that doesn't mean that they were the best fantasy running backs that year, right? Latavius Murray had the 4th most total touches, and he finished as running back number 9 in PPR. This is just strictly PPR, okay? He could have finished, obviously, a little bit different in a different format, but what you'll notice about, so like this right here, this column is next year plus or minus. So this is the next year. So this would have been, this is telling you what they did in 2016, which is the next year after this year. This is telling you what they did in terms of total touches. Now, obviously, Peterson and Doug Martin, their touches, I didn't even put it up here. I didn't tell you how much of a decline it was because they got injured. Peterson missed like the whole year. So Freeman, he kind of survived. He had a 17% decline going into next year as far as touches went. He still kind of survived. He did only have 338 touches. So, you know, the next year, which is this year right here, Freeman he still had a decline. He had 281 total touches. He went from finishing as the number 1 overall running back in PPR to finishing number 6. So it's not too bad. But basically what you'll notice from all of these guys that finish like inside the top I wouldn't really say you finish inside the top 5, but guys that finish with like, I think the number I have listed out here is, so this was 346 from DeMarco Murray. Basically, any of these running backs who had 340 total touches or more, you're going to notice there's a significant decline the next year. Okay. So Murray, he had a 35.5% decline in touches the next year. This was from 2016 to 2017. There are a couple of outliers, and really the big outlier is Zeke. Okay, Zeke kind of survived. This was Zeke's rookie year in 2016, 354 touches. That's a lot. Obviously, he did have a 24% decline the next year, but he still kind of survived. If I remember right, his second year, he only played 10 games, but he still finished 268. He still finished inside the top 20 as far as total touches for running backs. Now in year 3, see, he's kind of, he went on to have a 42% increase in total touches. So we go to 2018. Zeke was PPR running back number 5. He was probably number 1 in standard this year in 2018. But he had 381 touches this year. So he increased from 268 to 381. And then even after 381, going into year 4, he only had a 7% decrease. So Zeke is kind of the one outlier. You could argue that Derrick Henry is kind of an outlier as well, just because of the longevity of his career. But everybody else have a significant decline. Pretty much everybody else that finishes like 340 or more touches that year. You look at McCaffrey, he had that record year of 403 touches. That was the year he just went crazy, right? 2019. He got injured the next year. A lot of these guys either get injured or they have a significant decrease. And usually the threshold is about 340 to 350 carries, or I shouldn't say carries, total touches or more. So now I have this listed out over here. So if we go by the years, let me move the camera again and move it over here. So if we go by the years, basically, these are all the guys that had 340 total touches or more. And then this tells you right here, what they did the next year, the following year. So injury. Le'Veon Bell missed the season after he had that 406 touches. That was the year he held out because of the contract situation with the Steelers. Zeke is kind of an exception, obviously, to this. He still had 24% decline in touches. DeMarco Murray had that 35.5% decline. Shady McCoy, 44% decline. Gurley did kind of defy the odds. His third season going into his fourth season, but remember, Gurley only played 5 seasons. So even though he kind of cheated the system going into his 4th year, after his 4th year, he was done. He did play that last year in Atlanta, his 5th year, but he didn't play nearly as good, and he was out of the NFL after that year because of the injury, because they ran him into the ground. And then obviously year 3, we got Zeke. He did it again, obviously minus 7% of opportunity share, but he still had a pretty good year the following year. Barkley, remember Barkley, best running back in the league his rookie year, 23.5% decline. Then he had the injury the year after that. McCaffrey, the injury. Leonard Fournette, third year, 61% decline. As far as total touches were from the year prior. Derrick Henry, 40.5% after year 5. Basically, aside from a couple of outliers, in which you can kind of notice that the outliers, you want to notice what do they all have in common? They're all young running backs. So Zeke was in year 3 going into year 4. He did it again year 4 to year 5. Gurley was in year 3 going to year 4. Najee was a rookie. say running backs have a shelf life for roughly 8 years, but it seems like any running back who gets rushed over 300 touches per year drop off by year 4. That's interesting. It just depends, though. It depends on who the running back is. If you get somebody who's ultra talented like Zeke, it's a different story. And you could argue that Gurley was kind of just as talented, if not even better than Zeke. But Gurley just had that injury. Like, he had that career-ending injury. Zeke kind of avoided injury for the most part. He missed 6 games his second year, and that's about it. If you go back and look at Zeke's game total each year, he kind of survived injury for the most part. Now, the Cowboys let him go after this year because he's done as far as his efficiency. He's not the same running back with the same amount of juice. And then Derrick Henry is another outlier who's going into... What's Derrick Henry going into? Derrick Henry is going into year number 8. But Derrick Henry is like 6'3", 240. Derrick Henry's not your average running back, so he's able to kind of withstand the pounding. And he also didn't get off to a fast start. If you guys remember, Derrick Henry didn't really play much his first 2 years in the league. So that's why if you guys ask, well, why did Derrick Henry last longer than all these other guys? Derrick Henry didn't play as much his first 2 years, so that may attribute to why Derrick Henry has lasted as long as he's lasted. But I'm telling you guys right now, though, as far as looking at this, if it's not a young running back that's in year 2 or 3, or even the rookie year like Najee, because you got to think, Najee kind of survived. He had the most... If we go over here to 2021, Najee right here had the most total touches of any running back when, 2 years ago when Jonathan Taylor. But you guys look at Jonathan Taylor, he didn't survive either. Jonathan Taylor did not survive after the year that he had as the number 1 running back 2 years ago. Harris kind of survived, but he did have that injury early on in the season last year. The Liz Frank, he was playing with the plate in his shoe. And so... But Harris kind of did survive to a degree. He didn't perform like we wanted to, but he was still number 6 in total touches last year. So, but the good news is that he didn't creep over like that 340, 350 mark. So if we look at last year, these guys right here, I'll highlight it so you guys can see it a little better. These are the guys that are over that 340, 350 mark. Barkley, 352. If you guys remember, I'll show you guys. Barkley, rookie year, he had 352. 352, same amount of total touches as he did last year. And he didn't survive. Remember, he got hurt. Or, well, he didn't get hurt, but he had a decline, and then he ended up getting hurt in year 3. Let me read you guys' comments here. Just tells me that I should go rookie running backs and running backs who are still young, or those who don't get too many touches, but then go to a team where they are. Exactly right, Zion. You hit the nail on the head. There are outliers, like I said, there are outliers, but it's rare. It has to be a uber talented running back. It has to be a guy who is like literally the one, and like the guy who might fit that mold, but he's not quite there because he's still in his rookie year. Starting this year would be Bijan. Bijan could be a guy who fits that Zeke mold. Maybe, in 2026, 2027, when he's in year 3, year 4. Can't wait for preseason games where I can see these. That's the thing. You're not going to see these guys play. That's the thing, Zion. You're not going to see any of these guys play in the preseason, bro. I'm telling you right now. Yeah, you have a good one, Marvin. I'm going to try to go live a little bit more this week. So now that training camp's getting ready to kick off, we'll go over some news and some other stuff, as it comes up. But yeah, I appreciate you tuning in. But yeah, Zion, back to what you're saying. This is the thing. You're not going to see these guys play in the preseason. Like, you might see Bijan, you might see some of these rookies play, but they're not going to play much. Bijan might play like a half of the first game, and that might be it. They might shut him down after that. As far as guys like Henry, Henry, Harris, Barkley, if Barkley's ready to go, he signs his contract, or he signs his, let's just say he's ready to go for the season or whatever, contract aside. McCaffrey, you're not going to see any of these guys play in the preseason. So you're not going to know how their bodies are going to hold up to this, to this beating that he took. So like Barkley, this is why I'm low on Jacobs right here. If you guys remember, I was talking about Jacobs not drafting him. I would even maybe throw Saquon in that, because even though Saquon's still a little bit young, he's 26. The thing is that Saquon's already had injuries, and he's shown that he's going to drop off whenever he had 352 carries his rookie year. And that was his rookie year when he was fresh. Now he's going into year 6. He's already been through a couple of injuries. I'm not saying stay away from Barkley completely, but I wouldn't have too many shares of him, especially when he's going in round 2. He's probably like in my other league that I have, like that's literally like a week before the actual game start. He's probably going to go in round 1 of that draft. But Jacobs 393. I think Jacobs is going to sit out anyways. But even if he does, look, if Jacobs misses all of training camp, you got to think, a dude that just took almost 400 touches, probably going to miss all of training camp. We're going to find out come Monday. But I guarantee you he misses all of training camp, because I don't think he's going to get his deal. A guy that misses training camp is always prone to injury. But on top of it, he's had 393 total touches. These guys do not... These guys do not produce the very next year after a year like this. There's a reason why he's going in round 3. Because you got to think, Jacobs should be going in round 1 after the year he had last year. Why is he not going in round 1? That's because I would say a lot of people know about this for the most part. And he plays for a bad team. So... they just don't want him to get hurt, man. They don't want him to get hurt. I mean, I agree, dude. I agree with you to a degree. I do think they should play at least a little bit. I don't know. We'll see, man. We'll see how much they play. These veterans, though, like Eckler, Harris. Well, Harris isn't really a veteran yet. I mean, he's a veteran, but he's only been this is year 3 for him. But like Barkley, Jacobs, Henry, Eckler, Dalvin Cook, Kamara, all these guys that have been in the league for like 4 or 5, they're not going to play a single snap of the preseason, especially at the running back position, because they're just so prone to getting hurt. Yeah, you're not going to see those guys playing, so you're not going to know what they look like until week 1. Yeah, I agree. I would rather take Hurts as well. Take Hurts all day over Jacobs. He's probably going to rush for more touchdowns than Jacobs will this year. I would almost put my bottom dollar on it. Basically, the whole point of this is to show you guys that like these guys that get 340, 350 or more total touches, and that's receptions and rushing attempts. That's not even targets. I'm just talking about how many times did they catch the ball, how many times did they rush the ball. These guys do not survive the next year. They just don't. There's a couple of them that will. But even Peterson never survived either. You could go back, because this wasn't the only good year that Peterson had. If you go back and look at Peterson's, I think I can pull Peterson up here. But even Adrian Peterson is arguably one of the most gifted running backs to ever carry a ball in the NFL. Adrian Peterson was one of those guys. Let's look at Adrian Peterson. So this was 2015 Adrian Peterson. This was his second to last season in Minnesota. But if we go back to 2012 Peterson, right? Remember that? The almost 2,100 rushing yard Peterson? He survived to a degree. He was running back 11 in PPR, but he had about 130 fantasy points less than what he had that year. But then, so from 2012 to 2013, Peterson had a little bit of a decline. I could probably tell you how much. I could tell you how much of a decline. It wasn't a huge decline, but it was a little bit of a decline. But then right after that year, 2014, he got hurt. I think he blew his ACL again. He played one game. He got hurt the very first game that he played, and he was out for the rest of the year. So sooner or later, it's going to catch up to him. And you know, it's always going to catch up to him no matter what. It's always going to catch up to him. But you got to think that's Adrian Peterson. That's Zeke Elliott. Josh Jacobs is not Adrian Peterson or Zeke Elliott. He's just not. This guy is not Derrick Henry. He's definitely not Saquon Barkley either. Saquon Barkley, even with the injury history, is still a more athletically gifted, talented running back than Jacobs is. And I'm not saying Jacobs is dog, I'm not saying he's dog shit, but he's just not those guys though. He's not as athletically gifted and as talented as those guys are. And it just is what it is. I mean, I'm not as athletically gifted or talented as any of these guys. I'm not afraid to admit that. It's the truth. That's all I'm saying here. And so this guy right here, I don't think he's going to survive. Henry, I would say Henry doesn't survive. I don't think he should. I don't think he will. The guy's getting ready to be 29 years old. He's getting ready to be in year 8. For the most part, if we go back down here and look, I think Mixon goes around too early last year. I feel it wasn't as accurate that one game. Yeah, he got that 50-point game. Yeah, I agree about Mixon. I think Mixon, he's going to be okay this year, but he's not going to be. I don't think he's going to live up to the expectations that people have for him. And then it's just going to go downhill from there, I think, after this year. But see, like you look right here, Derrick Henry, 397 touches. This was 2020, right? This was that year that he just exploded, right? Even though he finished as PPR number 3. 40.5% decrease in total touches the next year. Now, obviously, he was off to a really good start this year. If you guys remember, 2021, he was really good. Here he is down here. He was still top 20 in total touches. Remember, this was the year he was off to a huge start, week 8, and then week 8 he had the foot injury, and then he ended up missing like the rest of the year. I think he came back and played like week 17 or week 18 or whatever, and then he was ready for the playoffs. But he was like on a tear this year, but then he had that foot injury. If you'll notice one thing as well about this chart, there's always some guys that are like right here in the middle that finish like 10, 11, 12, 13 that have an increase. So these guys increased. A lot of these guys down here had an increase in total touches, and they ended up being better fantasy players the next year. It's almost par for the course, except for this year. The only person that did was Zeke. But this also had a older. The running backs were older in this year, so a lot of these guys were towards the end of their careers. Of course, you got somebody like Frank Gore in here who kind of skews that a little bit. But you guys look right here, 2018, these young guys, Chubb, Marlon Mack even had an increase from 2018 to 2019. Sony Michel, rookie. Philip Lindsay, rookie. Derrick Henry was in his 3rd year, but this was technically his rookie year because he didn't really play much his first 2 years. He had an increase. Chris Carson, year 2. Joe Mixon, year 2. McCaffrey, year 2. If you notice, a lot of these guys that have increases from the next year are kind of the younger guys that finished kind of like in the ballpark of where these guys that I have highlighted. So the guys we're looking at are like Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, Damian Pierce. Now, obviously, Bijan's going to throw his name into this mix because he's uber talented. He's in a good situation, and he's young, and he's, like I said, he's uber talented. So Bijan could be, like, you look at these rookies like Najee Harris, who led the league in total touches their rookie year. Najee's there. Even Jonathan Taylor and James Robinson, they weren't number 1, but they were number 6 and number 8. Barkley was number 2 in total touches his rookie year. Every so often, you're going to have a rookie who leads the league in touches. Zeke, his rookie year, he was number 2. That's going to be Bijan this year. Bijan's going to throw his name inside the top 5 for total touches. So, Bijan, you get a guy like, I wouldn't rule out Montgomery for increase. I'm not saying Montgomery's going to be like top 5 or anything, but he could throw his name into like moving up to like right here where Stevenson and Kamara were last year. Pierce even. Pierce could throw his name up a little higher. Connor and Pollard. Pollard's in what, year 5 now? Stevenson is like literally the guy who fits this mold more than anybody though. Stevenson's going into year 3. 279 last year, so not too bad. Damian Harris left. And so Stevenson is the guy, in my opinion, who like literally throws his name up into the top 5 this year. Him, Bijan, and some of these other younger guys. So just keep that in mind. I just wanted to share that with you guys, and so that way you guys can kind of know who to draft, who not to draft. And yeah, Zion, you have a good one, man. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it, man. So yeah, man, with that being said, though, I think I'm going to end it right there. We've been live for a little more than 2 hours now. We went over a draft. We went over these stats for the running backs for future, future outcome for some of these, these running backs that finished inside the top 20 for their total touches. And then we also kicked off the show with a bunch of news here right before training camp starts this coming week. So I'm going to try to go live a little more for you guys. I'm going to try to go live a little more this coming week. Training camp starting as well. So, with that being said, man, I'll catch you guys later, and we will go over the news as it breaks in the coming days. And we'll also probably do a couple more drafts as well. So, I appreciate you guys, and you guys have a good one. I'm out of here. Peace out.